Okay, here we are, Interview Friday. We're starting out with the real mellow mystic hang today. Yes, because we've got some excitement. We've got two guests for Interview Friday. It's a first. Great music and gifts. Thank you very much, Kamala Lopez. I was inspired by the RoboCop franchise. I'd buy that for $1. All right, so we're going to do some breathing here. And we're going to go in through the nose, out through the toes. And I've got the incredible Mystic Hang playing out in the snow. He's playing the handpan. I don't know if all of you are handpan players, but trying to get our viewer Guignel to play the handpan. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. All right, I can hear our breathers in the green room, which is great. They're hanging out with my sidekick Boney. They're ready to come in. It's Richard Eden, television's RoboCop. We saw him last night, a lot of us, in the movie Callback. And then Chris Glatis, who is the director of Callback and also the director of other films. We're going to talk to him today. Inspire us to get our movie making on. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Go. We're also going to talk to Chris about an upcoming book that he has, which is about anxiety and curing anxiety and dealing with any kind of troubles that you're having, mental troubles that you're having, such as that. And let's see what Cult of the Hummingbird says, because I think he's going to like that. In through the nose, out through the toes. What is the deal with Twitch? Twitch is not functioning. Move on over to YouTube. Let it go. All right, we got some good breathing today. I feel good about that. But Twitch, I don't know. Twitch is always the problem child of the streaming services for me. I appreciate you checking it out, though. Someday we're gonna get those gamers to join in. It is 22:07 in Israel. Thanks for joining us. I'm looking forward to this. All right, it's Interview Friday. All right, there's Richard Eden. How are you doing? Great to see you.
Good. Thank you.
I was having a little technical difficulty, but that happens all the time on this show, I'll tell you. But it's great to see you. That was such an incredible film last night. If anybody caught, a lot of our chat room caught it. We were just digging it. You were hilarious. It's great to have you here. But today, I want to start because I want people to understand your acting career and how you came to this point in your life where you can give a performance like that, which was such a tour de force. You started out, you're from Canada, right?
Yeah, I was born in Toronto.
You were born in Toronto. And what made you come to the United States? Was it acting? Was it a love interest?
Yeah, it was a combination. I wish. A combination of two things. My mother was already living in New York.
Uh-huh.
My parents separated when I was young and eventually divorced, and then she moved to New York because that was her favorite city. So I always knew I had visited New York a few times. And then when I decided to become an actor after, a short brisk career in Toronto, I said I'd like to head to New York, and packed up some suitcases. And now that I recall, that was very funny. I packed up two big, huge suitcases in the middle of August heat. When I got to customs, the American customs guy said, "Little bit of a trip coming over here," because he kind of looked at me and said, "What's going on here?" I said, "Oh, it's a vacation." He goes, "Oh, yeah. Like to wear a lot of wardrobe, do you? It was weird. Yeah.
You had a lot, all your stuff, just all your
Yeah.
stuff. That's funny. So, and so you came over here, and so did you start acting like young? I know that you went to school in New York, acting school, right?
Well, I first started in Toronto, just really kind of on a whim. I guess I realize now that in eighth grade I played Fagin and Oliver in school, so there must have been the bug early. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of started in Toronto a little bit, kind of on a interest, on a whim thing. I would, didn't know much about it. I would look in yellow pages for acting coaches because they didn't know what you do. I'd found one that was a very sweet, funny lady named Lisa Crichton. I still remember her name. She was an actress from Stratford, and she had a little stage, and she lived in the back.
Nice.
And so she started off with, "Well, if you're going to be an actor, you must learn the classics."
I love it.
So she taught me like Richard's second monologue, which for some strange reason I still remember to this day. And then I did, then I joined another production right away, Barefoot in the Park, and then I got very fortunate and played Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire the first time in Toronto, and then I said,
Wow.
okay, so I got lucky in many ways because I was just young and kind of going at it. But the acting study, I think the question that you're asking, actually, there was a acting teacher in Toronto who passed away just recently. He was an American named Eli Rill, and he was a member of the Actors Studio. And he had moved to Toronto for some reason, I forget now, perhaps, marriage or whatever. But he enjoyed teaching there, and I ended up somehow in his acting workshops. That was the first time I was introduced to let's call it a more personal, deeper approach to acting. And it was less structured than that first teacher, Lisa. So I was a bit conflicted, but it was kind of like staring at each other and feeling each other without saying or touching or looking or sensing. And I went, okay, I don't know what this is about, but apparently it worked, and it got me inspired. Yeah.
Well, tell me, you got your first job in a play off Broadway, and there's a hilarious story that happened. Can you tell me something about that?
Yeah, I'd gotten to New York, and the agent who signed me was fortunate enough, or excuse me, generous enough, because I was staying at the YMCA. He says, you know what, I got a fold-out couch until you get settled, come on. And then he said, I've got an audition for you, and it was for a play called Entertaining Mr. Sloan by Joe Orton, and it's for the understudy. I said, okay. And he says, so we kind of have to get you prepped for this. And here's the play, because he had every play there was on his shelf. And he says, why don't you read the play? Yes, I read the play this time, yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, Chris. Sorry.
We
Anyway,
were remarking
so I read
last
it.
night on the fact that he didn't read the script before he went into audition for Callback. And
Right.
there was there's some disturbance about that.
Yeah, there was some disturbance about that. Yeah.
Chris was shocked.
He was shocked and probably said, how dare you? Yeah. But anyway, so I read the play, went in audition, and there were a few, actually, to this day, famous actors auditioning. Kevin Bacon was in, there was a few others, I'll mention their names, but,
Wow.
So I thought, this is silly. Why am I coming in here? They were already New York stars, but I don't know. Maybe they wanted it or something. And there was some rumor that Max Caulfield, who was in the lead, was getting very hot. The reviews were fantastic. It was a sold-out show, and that he was on the edge of a film career. So anyway, I guess I auditioned well for this part. Apparently, the tight T-shirt worked. Because it was that kind of a play. And Joe Tillinger was a director, and he said, have you read the play? And I went, yes, I read the play. All the way through.
Excellent.
It was very good. Have you seen the show?
Yeah.
I said, no. Do you know what it's about? I said, not quite. He's a young man who's being kept by a brother and sister, and it's a dark comedy. He goes, good. I think you should see the show tonight. And I said, oh, of course, I would be honored if you, And he goes, because there's some things you need to see in that show.
Yeah.
So I went to the show down at Cherry Lane, and sure enough, about the second act, Max Caulfield, for some reason, I forgot what it was, they take off his pants or something because they're torn and she's sewing them. And he's literally walking around in frontal nudity with a shirt. I said, and no wonder the place was sold out, you know?
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, and I thought, oh, okay, right. So I came back the next day, and the director said, so did you see the play? I said, yes. How did you think of it? I said, the artistic part or the other part? He goes, well, no, let's start with the other part. And I said, well, okay, I'm in, you know. Yeah, so I probably wasn't expecting to go on. I'll speed up this story, because an assistant stage manager in New York on Broadway actually sits backstage and does all the best whistles and doorbell sounds. That's what you do. And the guy that I replaced had been in the show from the beginning and was getting tired because he was never going on.
Oh.
So he says, I'm leaving this show. Go get yourself somebody else. Max Caulfield will never miss an episode, a stage show. Anyway, so sure enough, I get there, and 3 weeks later, Max Caulfield's off to do Grease 2, and I take over the role.
Oh, man.
Right. And I found out about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and I get there, and all of a sudden there's this panic. As soon as I enter the stage, the theater, they're changing me into leather pants. Because he just literally just flew off, you know. Okay, these are his leather pants. Wow. Okay, now here's his shirt. Okay, that's not going to work. Let's cut his shirt. And then all of a sudden, bam! They just threw me out on stage.
Whoa.
And there I was with the leads and doing this show, and I was terrified, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I did it rather quickly. I didn't do it as, you know,
I thought
proudly as
the way I remembered the story is that the shirt, like, he was a little shorter than you, and the shirt when he wore it kind of covered a little bit, but then you were like taller, and so it didn't cover anything.
Yeah, it didn't cover much, and so I was inventing new blocking on the stage, you know. Let's put it that way.
You stand behind the couch.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Well, I mean, sometimes,
I don't know how they do it. This is just a crazy show. So that was my entrance.
What was that like too? I mean, being the understudy is always difficult because you have to like learn the whole show and then never really perform it. Maybe you perform it on the weekend once with just nobody there, just the stage manager and the other understudies.
Correct.
Was that a great experience though, going on to a show, having never done it before? And just having to do like a whole lead part like that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I kind of went from lily pad to lily pad early in my career, and these are the things. Except the lily pads were, you know, big things like you're taking over the role in an off-Broadway hit, you know. So I rehearsed with the other understudies.
Yeah.
That was part of our job. It's the union contract. Twice a week or once a week we did. And then when it was announced that I was taking over the role that afternoon, I had about 5 minutes to run the lines with the leads, which were fantastic people. They said, don't worry about anything. This is the timing we're looking for. They were kind of directing me what they needed.
Yeah.
So when I walked out, I did exactly what they said to do and so forth. And then I kind of got a little cocky.
No pun intended.
And I said, yeah, no pun intended, literally, yeah. And then I kind of picked up on something on the timing of a line, and I got a laugh where I guess Max hadn't gotten one before. Yeah. And they're used to just barreling through. Well, they had to pause for that. Well, the look they gave me was, you know, the rookie.
The rookie.
But it was fun. Yeah.
New. Oh, that's so cool.
Stage is very good.
Yeah, you came up on the stage. So when did you go to California and do Santa Barbara? You won a daytime Emmy. By the way, I didn't do much of an intro to you, but Richard.
No, don't worry about it.
In the show Santa Barbara after that, somewhere.
Santa Barbara. Oh, well, I spent a little bit of time in New York, and then I decided I was going to go to Los Angeles to abbreviate the whole story and get into television, saved a few dollars, and flew out here. And I think I didn't even have a credit card at the time, so I had somebody call somebody. They knew somebody at Enterprise Rent a Car or something and say, he's fine, just give him a car. So I immediately got a play, which was strange.
Got to
I flew
play in Los
3,000 miles.
Angeles.
I know, I know. And that was a good play. And then I got a pretty good agency, and so I was going out working quite a bit, and they asked me to audition for Santa Barbara, a brand new soap opera. I was reticent, but the agent said, "Look, you do this for a few years, you make some money, you don't have to audition for a couple of years. How's that? To get the part."
Yeah.
Kind of like with Chris, I think they had been looking for somebody to play this part that I was supposed to play.
Yeah.
And at the last minute, I got the part, and then I did Santa Barbara, yeah, with the Nicholas Coster, Robin Wright, A. Martinez. I mean, that became a mega hit worldwide. I mean, that was amazing.
So
It was
did
the
your
first
life
soap opera.
change? Like, could you go places and people were like swarming you at the time?
Yeah, what happened was I was coming off the show, actually ending my contract, and they needed two people to fly over to France, a magazine called Cine Review, and they said, "Would you like to go?" Since everyone's really busy, kind of put a topper to this whole thing. And I said, "Yeah, sure." And then Todd McKee, I think, was the other actor. Yes, he was. And I didn't anticipate much. It was a magazine called Cine Review. So they flew us over there, and they treated us like gold, first class tickets and so on. And I thought, oh, okay, we're going to meet some fans. We flew into Brussels. It was very quiet. Belgium's very kind of more sedate, quiet. Took us to Brühl, that little Flemish town.
Yeah.
It was very pleasant. And they said, "All right, now we're going to Paris. Get ready." And I said, "Why?" They said, "We're not going to tell you anything." Two Citroens pull up in front of the hotel, and in the other car are bodyguards.
Bodyguards.
I said, bodyguards. I said, "Why?" They said, "You'll see." So we get to Paris, we pull up in front of this hotel, and the guy's explaining to us in the magazine. He says, "We just interviewed Meryl Streep, and when we announced that you guys from Santa Barbara are coming, we got, X amount of hundreds of calls or something." I said, "Oh, wow." So I had no idea. I think what it turned out to be was it was a big hit, still is, but in Europe, they had never seen an American soap opera. So they were hooked because they don't know how it ends. So they kept asking us, "How does this show end?"
Yeah.
I go, "It doesn't. It just goes on and on.
And on and on.
Yeah. So we got there to this hotel, and we pulled up, and we thought rock stars were there because there was hundreds of people outside. And sure enough, they started rocking our car. They found it was us. We were like these rock stars that showed up wherever we went.
Wow.
It was first taste of celebrity. It was scary, and then at the same time, just incredible. I think whether it's fans or actors can share that joy of what you've done,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be grateful to that experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So how soon after did you do the RoboCop TV show?
I did a few years later. I think I went to Toronto. Yeah, I went back to Toronto because I was cast in a television show. Sonny Grasso, famous from French Connection, was a producer, and he was looking for this new kind of look. He had a kind of a reenactment show called Top Cops, and he wanted American actors, but maybe if they were Canadian, and he wanted a New York thing. And I have that kind of energy, I guess, and so I had auditioned for it, and I liked it, and I did a bunch of television shows, and then I went home. Then I came back the following summer, stayed at my director's house. He was a director who had been on one of the episodes, and he had gone to Croatia with his wife, and he says, "If you can house sit for me, you can have the rent of the house." And I said, "Great." And the agent called me and that I had and said, "Okay, I have an audition for you. They've been looking. It's the last week." God, this last week thing I show up.
Yeah, I know. Last week, and don't see the play. Don't read the script.
Yeah. Don't read the script.
This is advice for young actors.
Secret to acting.
Don't pay any
Read
attention.
Nothing. Wait till they've seen everybody.
That's right. Just slip right in there.
Then so my agent said, "It's a show called RoboCop. Have you seen the movie?" I'm going to tell you the truth, guys. I never saw the movie.
You never saw the movie? Never?
Never saw the movie.
Ever?
Never saw the movie. Ever. At that point.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed it, but I didn't see it. Yeah. So she goes, "Anyway, you're this robot. It's a man and a machine thing. It's a series lead. You wanted a series lead. Here's the audition. I'm running with your audition tape to the producers to hold them because they're getting on a plane and coming back to LA. I need you down there in an hour and a half."
Wow.
And I said, what do I do? So I said, okay, is there any way it could be tomorrow? Because I'm not ready. I don't know what I'm doing. And I looked at his shelf, the director's shelf, and he had, lo and behold, RoboCop there, right?
Yeah.
So I threw it in really fast and started going through it. And I thought, wow, this is a crazy mofo film. I love it.
Yeah.
So I put on a turtleneck from his closet and went down, did some robotic moves or something like that.
Well, it seems like RoboCop has very specific robotic moves. I don't know whether they trained you on that. You know, like the way he moves, like he will turn his body first and then he will turn his head.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it seems specific to him.
Right. They had learned a lot from the first movie with Peter, apparently, who brought in a mime guy, but they didn't really learn on mine either. They brought in 2 people from Cirque du Soleil.
Are you serious?
Yes, and this is where the tension started. Apparently, anybody who plays RoboCop always has tensions with everybody. I can see why now. So I did mine, and they were teaching me these, really very detailed robotic moves, so that you're turning and you're going and all that.
Yeah.
And then of course they would check your lips all the time. They said, "Yeah, okay, Richard's got the lips like Peter, perfect, okay." So I was kind of like a specimen more than anything.
Yeah.
But I think because you're going to do a series, they wanted those things to be extra robotic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of rebelled against that a little bit. And I said, yeah, but aren't I kind of like a man in a machine thing? They said, stop being an actor. Just do your job.
Listen to those Cirque du Soleil
I
people.
learned the moves.
Yeah. That's wild. And so the suit, from what I understand, was 95 pounds. Is that true? That's what I heard.
125.
125 pounds? And you had to wear that thing all day?
I actually, I think there's a book about RoboCops behind me here. I think I'm in that one too with him. I think I mean, there's one thing I will be proud of to say, that I was probably in the suit longer than the other Robos. Sometimes 12, 14 hours a day. Yeah. I wore the suit that Peter Weller wore in the second RoboCop.
The same
suit. He didn't
suit.
make one. The exact same suit. And there was an error made in the suit when Peter stood for the molding out here with Rob Bottin, I think, whoever created the suit. He had kind of shifted his, if you have 2 feet here, he kind of moved his left foot this way and stood for hours. So they molded it that way unknowingly. So when I got into it, I had to walk like this because they weren't going to make a new suit. So that hurts your back.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, I was pretty injured. Then I fell down. I'm talking about shell casings. There were some. They're just props. They were kind of show that there was some light shooting going on, and I slipped and went down 5 feet in the suit.
You did. Cool.
But it was a beautiful suit because it was designed to look like a Corvette. It was out of fiberglass, but it's extremely heavy.
Yeah. I've got a clip I'm going to show. This is a scene. This is a scene where you actually have the helmet off, and it's at the end of an episode where your father has been in the episode and he suddenly realizes it's you, and everybody thinks you're dead, right? Mm-hmm. So here it is. So cool. Yeah, I love that. That must have been.
Boy.
Was that the first time you took off the helmet in the series, or did you? There were flashbacks. I know there were a lot of flashbacks where you didn't have the suit on, right?
Yeah, the helmet off is a third act thing. I think that's the first time where we take it off because Marty Milner, who played my father, we go through this whole episode, from what I recall, him realizing something's amiss here, and he recognizes me because he was told that I was dead, right?
Yeah.
But it was a different kind of RoboCop. It wasn't like the movie, which had this great, wonderful, crazy humor and sarcasm and, satire. It was a kind of a gentler, kindler.
Well, you didn't kill anybody, apparently. Apparently that RoboCop, because he was on TV, did not kill anybody. I don't think.
No, we wounded well.
Wounded a lot of people. There also was that character Pudface, which is very interesting. I don't know if he was in the movie or not. Anyways, that's super fun. So how Richard and I met, moving along from RoboCop, was my wife was cast in a movie that your wife was directing. Kamala was in a movie that Shannon Hile was directing called The Intervention. Is that the first movie that you produced as well that you and Shannon put together, or have you done other ones as well?
Actually, that was the kind of to dovetail from last night.
Yeah.
Once I decided I wanted to try some indie films, and if they'd have me and find like new voices directing, and I wanted to offer my kind of services as an actor, I got into it. And Disappearing in America was a great one. Chris's film Callback. That kind of led to us writing and directing our own indie film, The Intervention, and so that was partly because we both decided that we wanted to try something a little bit more, independent, avant-garde, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And so did you both write this together?
Yeah, yes, we did. We wrote it together. Then we, raised the capital for it. We did the money for it. And those days, we probably didn't need to spend half of what we did. Shannon was a first-time director and so forth. The casting. I still remember when I just missed Kamala's audition. We were doing all these auditions for actresses, and because I walked in because we were doing something with production, I sat down and I leaned into Shannon, and I go, "Well, have we found anybody?" And she kind of just gently, during the audition of someone reading, just kind of slipped me Kamala's 8x10, and she tapped the finger.
That's great. That was such a fun movie. Maybe we should have a screening of that movie sometime. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We actually shot that on film. Can you imagine that? So that was the first time we went into that.
And what a crazy shoot that was. There were fires, and it was you were staying in a haunted hotel. We had Shannon on here last year. This is just a little clip from Shannon here. Just there we are talking, where she talked about the haunted hotel that was that you stayed in, and there were ghosts there and everything. And then also the incredible fires that were going on. There was ash in the air, and
it was a crazy shoot. Yeah, now that you jarred my memory, there was a lot of fires up there, ash in the air falling, hard to breathe, that kind of thing. And we shot in one of the Laurie Prang, who was in a streetcar, my second streetcar in LA, and this is her home along with her husband, and they were right there at the edge of up in the hills. So we shot everything up in this one location up there, and it was a crazy intense shoot, but the catering was very good. I'll tell you that.
That's right. It was it's a really nice movie too. I mean, we probably will. Hopefully we could screen it at some point, because it's such an intense psychological thrill. It's a psychological thriller as well as a horror movie. And another very complex character that you're playing in that. I want to get on to Chris and then bring us all back together.
Okay.
And at that point, we'll talk about what you're up to now, because you and Shannon are a really powerful collaborative team. And I want to talk about that a little bit as well. So I'm going to move on, since we're doing this dual interview, which is a brand new thing on the show. Now let's move on to Chris Glatis, and then we'll see you soon, Rich. Hang in there. Okay. See you later. All right, here he is. This is Chris Glatis, the director of Callback. I don't know if my segue was very good, but I did not really introduce you. Chris is the director of the movie Callback that we screened last night. That was his first film. He has since gone on to direct other films. He's an indie filmmaker. The other films that he has directed are Swivel Shot, which is a short film that I want to talk to him about, and then also Dose of Reality, which is a feature film that premiered at the 2013 Cinequest Film Festival to rave reviews and packed screenings. So, Chris, welcome to the show. It's great to see you. Oh, it looks like I've got you muted.
Oh,
there we go. Welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. This is really a treat. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. We really enjoyed your film last night, Callback. I mean, it is such a hilarious film, and also somewhat nowadays, I don't even know if you could make a film like that, because some of the things are a little bit it might be offensive because we're in a world where things are a little bit more difficult, I guess, because we're trying to not make stereotypes and trying not to do certain things. How do you feel looking at it again today, looking at that film, now that this time has passed?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm so glad this you did invite me and Richard to do this, because I haven't watched the film in forever. So
Yeah.
I actually wasn't planning on watching the entire film. I think partly because I know I've grown a lot as a filmmaker, and just looking at old work, sometimes I cringe a little bit, but I was sucked in because I forgot. I didn't know really what was coming next. It's almost like when you write a script and you put it away for a while and you come back, it's like you're reading. It's like I was watching someone else's film. So that was really, really enjoyable. And look, I think that there were some moments, some things that were that happened in the movie that I was like, wow, like I wonder if that would pass the what is it? The cancel culture.
Yeah.
What's going on now? And with that said, I probably would do things differently now. Like I'm a different person now, So I'm actually, that was the director I was now then. And I think there was a little bit more freedom, and we were making a very raw, intense film. I think that's what I set out to do. And there was I think there was more freedom creatively back then.
Yeah. So making an independent film like this is a huge endeavor. Sometimes people don't realize all that goes into it. How long did it take you to make this film? You wrote it and directed it.
Yeah, I think, I went back in my notes and emails and stuff like that, because I was just this opened up a can of worms for me. So I think I wrote it around 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. That's when I started to write it. And, with films like this, even back then, they were just hard. I mean, you hear sometimes from producers, it's just as hard to raise, 10 million, 100 million as it is to raise, $1 million. It's the process that you go through. You have to get people to get behind your work and love what you're doing. And so, we would just keep hitting walls and just kept showing up. This film was shot for under $100,000. So I was able to scrape money together, family, friends, that sort of thing. I think the big kind of question was, do I shoot this on, it was just, there wasn't availability. We could have shot on video if we wanted to, but these cameras weren't up to speed, and that's why we shot film. So there was a question: do we shoot film? Do we shoot video? And then also, having the DP is really your right hand, the director's right hand person. I mean, if you're not speaking the same language, you can end up in disaster. So there was a big, long search for the right person to shoot the film too. So, money is one thing, but then, thank God we found Richard. I mean, I think he came, it's, what's that saying? Like, the teacher that you need shows up when you need it, and it was almost like Richard showed up as the actor that we needed to do this film. I mean, we interviewed, we auditioned a lot of other people, but he when he read it, there was something about him that I was like, this is on a different level. And I didn't know a lot of Richard's background, so that was really nice to see, hear all about his background, and just having a theater background. That was really, that was something that I really loved, because he was, he was doing the deep work. I mean, when you're theater is the actor and actress's medium, right? It really is. Yep. I mean, film is more of a director's medium. Yep. I wrote it 2002, 2003, and then we were up and running probably within a year. But one last thing I'll say is that you never have everything in place. I mean, I kind of, there's part of me that wants to have all my ducks in a row before I start, and you just can't. I don't even know if we had all the money while we were shooting. I mean, it was, so at some point you gotta jump in and just hope that a net will appear,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there were probably a lot of logistics with it too, shooting in cars and driving all over Hollywood like this. Was that Like, how did you even handle sound? How do you even handle sound on something like this? You must have had a great sound person because.
Yeah, I mean, logistically, I don't know if Richard remembers, but we, some of the footage, some of the footage that we were shooting of the cars driving from the outside, we literally had a passenger van that we were using to transport people, and we just opened up the sliding door of the passenger van. We were shooting outside of that. We had bungee cords holding the camera in place. We had, the assistant cameraman was holding on to Neil. I mean, it was like, and we also, we got pulled over, and I'm trying to remember. I think we didn't have a legitimate permit, but we showed something to the cops, and they were like, they didn't really know, so they were just like, okay, you're good. But when I was writing it, it was like, oh, this is just one car. Really, Richard's in the entire movie, so there's not a lot of. But once we started breaking it down, like as far as like the production manager, it was like, Chris, we have a zillion locations. We got to go from here to here to here. So, it's not just me. It's a collaborative effort, and having everyone kind of on board to really assist. Because otherwise, it's not a one-person show. And so I had a lot of good support from the AD to Neil to Tony, the producer. His mom would cook a home-cooked meal, like bring food every day, because if you have good food, you can make people work longer. You can do certain things. So logistically, it was crazy.
When you wrote the film, were you thinking I can only write something in these constraints because I can only get so much money for this thing if I'm going to make it independent? Do you think in that way, or were you just trying to think of a great story? Because the dialogue is fantastic in this movie, so it seems like it's coming out of something deep within you. But also you have logistics you have to deal with.
Yeah. So something coming deep within me. I think I mentioned that last night. Is I think this was coming from a lot of frustration of just not being able to get something made, and look, it might not seem it, but I like it. But I love actors. I love working with actors, and I think all creatives are fragile beings. I even to this day, I have a lot of insecurities about my writing and this and that, and it's just part of the business, right? It's just part of what we do, and to be able to really put yourself out there, even actors sometimes. I think maybe even Richard, he could speak to this, but if a role scares you, it's something you want to lean into. It's something that you want to that could be fantastic. I actually see this movie. Last night I was watching it, and it's been I don't know how many years, but this is really a satire, obviously, about the film business and about Hollywood and about LA as well, right? Yeah. And so I don't think I think that we all want attention, we all want to be validated, we want all these things. So it's not specific to this industry. I mean, and now looking at social media and how, unfortunately, kids are, some of them are like killing themselves because they're not getting a like on Instagram or whatever. It's interesting to see how now that what's happening now in regards to people wanting to be famous and want to be validated and all that sort of thing. So that's what the first part of your question. The second part is, I think I was trying to write around a budget, but again, once we started breaking it down and realizing, oh, Chris, you got to do this. We can't do this for this. I started to realize that we were in it for a little bit more. It was going to be a little bit more complicated, a little bit more expensive. And I would never tell anyone, I mean, look, if you're trying to do an indie, absolutely, you're going to have constraints. I mean, there's just no way around it. But you really want the story, you don't want the story to suffer because of that, right? So you have to find a story that really is going to match that lower budget, instead of saying, oh, we'll just cut out this great scene, or this, the story will be something completely different because we don't have the money. People have to tell the story they want to tell.
Yeah. Your next film that you did, Dose of Reality, that was the next film you did, right?
That was the next feature. Yeah.
Next feature. This was this a single location? I wasn't able to see the movie because I can't find it, but I would love to see it.
I'll definitely get you a copy. I plan on actually putting it back up on Amazon. We had a distributor, and that kind of ran out, that whole the deal I had with them. So I'd love for people to be able to see it. Yeah, it was one location, and this goes exactly to what you were saying a minute ago, like writing around budget. And again, I did this all in, with the idea that I wanted to do it for a lower budget. We were able to. It almost reads like a play. It really feels like a play too, and you'll see that we were really lucky to get Fairuza Balk and who I loved, and also Rick Ravenello and Ryan Merriman. They all were real working actors. That's what they do. They're very successful. And we had, it was once again very intense. We were shooting in a bar that we had. The bar had actually gone out of business, or not gone out of business. They had to shut down for something, and so we literally had an entire bar for a month. We were able to leave everything there, so it was it. We just kept coming back to that one set, and it was another. I think that I personally am really interested in what makes people tick. A lot of my stuff is really psychologically based. There tends to be intense. I think probably way more intense when I was younger. I think now that I've done a little work on myself, things have, the subject matter and the way I handle things is a little bit different. But we had a blast, and I'm really proud of that film as well.
I look forward to seeing it. I did see your short film, Swivel Shot.
Yeah,
that is an intense film. Have you decided to do short films because you can get them done quicker, or is this just like something that a story that you wanted to tell?
I think it's just really about keeping. Sometimes you hear this in the business, which is kind of cliche, but just keeping the instrument fresh. Mm-hmm. And I love writing, but it's a very insular, lonely kind of existence, and there's not a lot of kind of feedback. And I love being on the set. I love working with creatives, actors, and so if I can't get a feature done, I'd rather just shoot something, and work with people. And Rick actually Ravenello, who was the lead in Swivel Shot, was the lead in Dose of Reality. So we had a working relationship. Which was also nice, working on a couple things. You kind of work on shorthand, like you know how each other work. I think we shot that in 2 days. I was looking at some of these days. Like I think I shot Callback in 14 days.
14 days,
which is just crazy. And then nowadays they're shooting features in 9 days, 10 days, which I think is just crazy. But yeah. I think Dose of Reality we had a little longer of a shoot.
All right, I'm going to bring Rich back on here. We're going to talk about how you all keep your head right, how you keep your projects going, a little bit about the mental aspect of what you're doing. Let's bring Rich back here. Rich, there he is. All right, the applause, always the applause. So this is a little section here. Thanks for sharing, both of you, your kind of trajectory. It's very helpful to me and to our viewers, I'm sure. But I want to get into this idea of, a lot of times this business is not very predictable and we can't control it. And also sometimes things take a long time where you have to see it first, and then you have to enroll everybody else in seeing the vision that you have and the importance of it. And a lot of times there's not necessarily a huge monetary payback at the end of it, but it's something that you want to express because you feel the need to express it. I'll start with Rich. Rich, how do you keep your mental state through all this kind of, I don't know, sometimes it's like feels Sisyphusian, pushing a rock up a hill to get something done, Oh, I gotta unmute you. Is that what's happening here? Oh, there we go. I did it. I blew it. Okay, good.
I want to be heard.
Yes. My assistant is really blowing it.
Damn you.
Yeah.
That's a really terrific question. And apropos to your theme, we have one now that we're going out with called The Grayson. It's a horror film, and supernatural, kind of based on actually my upbringing, my family, and my father. And Shannon was the lead on that. So we're starting that process over. right now. It's with a producer in Toronto and so on. That actually a producer who produced RoboCop. To get to your question, though, for 5 or 6 years, we were producing or getting rewrites of a wonderful television series that we wrote called Montmartre, which was about these painters
That
at the
sounds
turn
like
of the
a
century in
great
Paris.
one too.
Yeah, and it's really ruckus and wild, and I probably got influenced by the Chris Glatises and all those when we were writing. But because it's avant-garde in that sense, it's it's taken years to get to this point. And you have your dips, you have your depressions, your anxieties, your doubts, your all that stuff. I think the most important thing, um, you need somebody who believes in you, who's the champion of it. That would be important to find. Okay, who sticks with you. Could be a friend, it could be anybody, it could be a producer, it could be a director, a writer, somebody that sort of keeps seeing what you're doing, so that it's not reflected back in. I think that's where we're happy, because we've had JP Sarney from Stampede Ventures now for 5 or 6 years, who keeps going, another year of trying to get this done. Okay, but so that's been really helpful. In terms of the business and the craziness of it all, and now I think we can all join the grievance complaint wagon of how hard it is. I don't think it was ever easy.
No,
really.
probably not.
I mean, when they first came out here on a train with the thing and the suitcases, we got sunshine. All right, what are we going to do? I mean, somebody did it. But I think what makes it harder nowadays is because there's so much noise out there. Internet noise, and like Chris said, getting a like is more important. I think all of that has, in my opinion anyway, and I experience it too, where you're just getting a little too hooked into the process addiction of clicking websites and going here and doing that. You're not doing the job. The job is to write or to act. It's not to go see what the other person's doing all day long. And I think that now more than ever, if you're a filmmaker or actor, so forth, your focus has to be even sharper than ever before. And that anxiety that you feel, I've been feeling it. Sometimes you have them in the middle of the night. I'm sure you guys have had those, right? You wake up with it. I don't necessarily think it's negative. I've come to the conclusion, now being an elder statesman, thank you, that it's the meat, the fire in you as a creative artist that's saying, go do something, damn it. I think that's what it is. Now, I can't speak for someone who's not in our business having anxiety attacks. That's something else. I think it's a urge to get out there and do what you love. And the more you try to hold back, give yourself reasons why you can't, or that kind of thing, I think you're going to feel that pressure, especially as you get older. So yes, you have anxieties about everything around us, but if you were to take that out of the equation, the COVIDs and everything else and all the politics and just quiet all that down and got quiet, what is that anxiety really? You want to do something that's fun, and you want to create and you want to contribute. And if you don't answer that, back in the old days, people therapy would talk about the inner child, but that's really it. That anxiety is, I need to do something and I have to do it now. I think when you reached out to Chris about this, I think I texted Chris and said, I was acting like a 4-year-old. I want to do this show. I want to do this show. You're going to do this, Chris.
I love that. Chris, what are your thoughts on that? I know you've thought about this a lot because you have an entire book coming out.
Yeah. So look, I think it's tough. I mean, I think obviously, don't do what Jake Bannon did. Please don't do. That's not what you do for your, if you're struggling in the business. But I will say the tag that we put on at the end of the film, Richard, I don't even remember this, but we did that way after, right? What he says there, I think, is very apropos. I mean, he's basically saying you've got to have a life outside of, just grinding at this all day, right? You have to live to be able to write, right? You have to live to be able to experience, to then be able to do a story about it. So, and when I say this, I'm speaking to myself. I mean, I find myself in here hours writing, and I'm like, not even realizing there's like an ocean out here, and there's people out here that I can interact with. And I think that as I'm going to go back and say what I said before, like your instrument. I mean, we walk around all day long projecting a movie, right? It's our movie. Like everyone's got a different movie. We might be running into similar people, but we're all perceiving it differently. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your body. Like I try to eat well. I try to get good sleep. So I'm on top of my game all the time, right? And it's just, I know that's really basic, but it's very important for this business. And stay away from, I think social media and all that is fantastic in certain instances, but nowadays when you can be comparing yourself to others and all that stuff, it'll drive you mad, really will. The book that you're talking about, I've struggled over the years since I was a teenager with anxiety. I had really bad panic attacks when I was younger. And so the book I wrote is kind of the manual that I would have loved to have had when I was younger, right? When I started having these attacks, people really didn't know much about it, and I think the females had it more than males, so that was kind of an ego hit, and I didn't want to tell anyone, and so I just literally poured out. This was like I was going through a tough time in my life, and I wrote about this because after all the things I've done, from therapy to meditation to this and that, I felt that it boiled down to really a couple things. And I'm simplifying here, it's much more detailed in the book, but breathing, like you said, if you really pay attention to how you're breathing, most of us aren't breathing right? The second thing is, what are the stories that we're telling ourselves? Like, if we sat down and really listened to what the stories we're telling ourselves, we wouldn't say that to anyone else. Like how mean and how just horrible. Yeah, unrelenting it can be to ourselves. So paying attention, which I call observe, and then there's a letting go. Like we can only control what we can control, and if there's a lot of letting go that needs to happen, I think that for me, it's a lot of I was trying to control things, which has created anxiety. So it came, this is one of the things that I did to kind of ease my anxiety. The other thing I'll say is that I don't believe it ever goes away. Everyone has anxiety on some level. I don't want people to manage their anxiety because to me, that's bullshit. Like,
don't you feel like it makes that voice in your head louder? Like
exactly.
You're screwing up. They're going to blow this whole thing. They're never going to, whatever it is. They're never going to let you make a movie again or whatever it is. It just makes that louder. And so you kind of have to be like, okay, this is how I'm experiencing life right now. Let's keep going. One foot in front of the other.
And like Rich said, I try to get people to use it as fuel, and so
totally true that way.
Yeah. So it's about, the book is really written for people maybe who've tried everything, or they're really willing to lean in and not manage. They're really willing to face this thing. And it usually is something within, not out there. And the other thing is, I do touch upon my creative endeavors and how this anxiety kind of flowed through different projects, and also how I used it to tell stories that are very personal to me, and that is very cathartic. It's cathartic writing about it. It's cathartic shooting it. So I hope I answered the question, but yeah, I don't think it ever goes away. And I think people with COVID, and it's not just our business. I mean, people are experiencing this everywhere. It's really in people's faces right now.
Wow, it's a great way to end the show. I really thank both of you for being on the show and for being generous enough to screen your movie last night. That was such a treat. And I look forward to doing, more of those screenings, and I look forward to the work that both of you are doing, and, coming to fruition. Hopefully I can join in with you, and hopefully you'll join in with me on some other things, because, this is a team sport, and it's good to have people like you, both of you guys out there. Kamala says, how can we get Chris's book? It hasn't come out yet, but we'll Chris has a website, ChristopherGlatis.com, where you can follow him. Any other things that people can do to find when this book's coming out? And then also, are we having an intervention screening?
Yeah, I probably will have something on my website. There's also... there's probably something on the website. There will be something on our website. I'm in the final stages right now. And Joel, I'll get in touch with you. We'll figure out a way to get
I definitely will let my viewers know about it.
I just want to thank you. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and it was fun to revisit an old project that I think is still very relevant. Yeah,
I think so too. And I think we're going to have to put an intervention screening on the horizon, hopefully.
Yes.
Kim Kraft is here saying, Callback is a classic. I missed the original soundtrack, though. This is an inside joke of some sort, I'm sure. I don't know.
No, that's Kim. Oh, Kim. I'm so happy that he's on board here. He actually worked on the original soundtrack. So that's, So he did a lot of great work. He was wonderful. We ended up going with someone else. But Kim, so good to hear from you.
That's cool. All right. So I'm going to let you all go. Thanks for being here for Interview Friday. This has been a hoot. And we'll see you soon. Keep in touch. I'll let everybody know what these guys are doing if you're
Thank you, Joel, for inviting us.
Instagram. All right.
Thank
see you later.
Joel.
Have a good one.
Yeah, great.
Okay, this is one of my favorite people on YouTube doing a cover of one of my favorite bands, Nirvana. But it's a different kind of cover than I've heard before. I don't know if I'll be dancing, but swaying perhaps. Thanks everybody for being here today. This interview is available in perpetuity. So send your friends. I'm going to be quiet now because they're singing. It's a beautiful rendition.
I've been drawn into your magnet star.
If you want to donate to the Running Mates, which is a great duo,
I wish I could eat your cancer when you turn black. Hey, wait, I've got a new complaint. Forever in debt to your priceless advice. Hey, wait, I've got a new complaint. Forever in debt to your priceless advice.
So yeah, go to Running Mates on YouTube. They got these incredible renditions of other people's songs and their own songs. Thank you, Kamala, for the super chat. We have our 300th episode coming up soon, November 9th.
Broken
That's 3 shows from now.
of your
This has been Interview Friday.
Left black. Throw down your umbilical noose so I can climb right back. Hey, wait, I got a new complaint. Forever in debt to your priceless advice. Hey, wait, I got a new complaint. Forever in debt to your priceless advice. Your advice.